Oh, okay. Well, here we are recording now. Hopefully, it's a good time to be recording. I don't know. I can't ever tell. We have so much potent stuff constantly being relayed, but kind of the things that we're going through right now in the process are just kind of planning, figuring out how we're doing the video, when it's coming up, if it breaks the flow, if it doesn't break the flow, just all kinds of different materials. Me and Miss Remy Fossolati Doe here. And yeah, so I mean, I know the videos here. It kind of brings my awareness that there's like 1,000 other people in the room possibly, and maybe just nobody at all as well. So it's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, what we're I guess now discussing. Usually, if somebody enters the room, I catch them up on what we're talking about. So if you were like a person with a head and arms and legs and torso and a pelvis area and all these different things, brains and hearts and organs, blood pumping through the system constant, then I would, bring you into what was going on if I were to allow you to enter into what was going on. But a lot of the times when I'm having a channel with other people and it's really big in the heat of a channel, I mean, I won't block somebody off and keep them away from me unless they're trying to take away from the channel. If somebody comes up wanting my attention, I'm usually just going to stick to the channel, or if it turns out that I can feel that they're meant to be part of that or something, they've stood there long enough in a good, respectful, patient-like manner, not trying to like take over the scene or something like that. They've come in a nice, soft, humble manner. Sometimes if they don't, we can just hit all kinds of different places anyway, real quick. Like, I like to stick to the center frequency. If I'm with somebody and we're channeling something through, I don't really like to cease the channel in order to say hi to somebody. But as I've gone on, I have become much better at being able to do that, to where I am able to like give it a little nod, or say, hey bro, this is what's going on for me, and then just jump immediately back to where I left off. It all comes to a place of confidence, really. Eventually, you have a lot of experience, and so trust is just built upon itself constant through your experience, and you're knowing through that experience that, oh shoot, I am still breathing and I'm able to breathe this whole way through. I can take a pause and go here, I can take a pause and go there. But like I said, if somebody's entering into the conversation, I like to catch them up on where we were. That way they can jump in here and we don't go into some other trail of some offward place of whatever. And if we did, I mean, I would find that to be perfection. And if the song started to sing, I would ride the song until it came back to the other song, or until it was done and the other song eventually came back, or I'd have to let go of that previous song completely. Either way, if I'm on a song in the moment, meaning like I'm on a channel, or I'm with a rhythm, I'm with a tone, I'm with a syllable structure, the beat of sound coming through another person's mouth, I usually just stick to the song I'm on and let go of the previous song. And if the previous song comes up, then we sing that song. And if it doesn't come up, we don't sing that song. Who knows about that? That song's gone. There ain't nothing here but the syllable I'm on. And so right now we're talking about just different things that we can do, the different styles of interview, the different ways in which we could be working with one another to try to figure out, what's the best way to bring a channel through that's of benefit for all beings everywhere without one exception. That when people watch this, they're getting nuggets of wisdom, they're getting like huge activations and empowerments that they really are receiving at a high rate, something that's extremely beneficial and free, which is pretty cool. But yeah, just trying to figure out the dynamics right now. We're figuring out like, okay, we need battery chargers so we can record more than an hour and a half or a couple hours, 2.5 hours. We're trying to record, entire days and versions of those days, kind of showing the things that happen during a day for somebody who's in the flow in this kind of a way, to kind of show the perfection unfolding constantly, day to day to day to day. It's funny. It's kind of like a reality show if you do it for a whole day or something, but it's not for the entire day. We'll be sleeping and fucking and loving and doing all of these things without the camera looking at us. That was a hard word for me to say, the fucking. The loving was nice. It came afterward to soften the blow of fucking. But yeah, really, I mean, I guess we could just say anything. So typically, if anything comes up in the flow of such a harsh manner, I fucking say it, no matter what. Because if I don't say that shit, the next time that I have to say a word, I may have to describe that word to myself. Like, I might have to observe it and make sure that it's a good word to be said. And that is way too slow a processing system to work with the limitless amount of potentiality here given to us in the present moment as our authentic being. And so for me, I don't have the ability to really force myself into a place of intelligence. I kind of have to just pick up the channel as it's coming. And if it makes me sound like a smart guy, I'm a smart guy. If it makes me sound like an idiot, I'm an idiot. If it makes me clumsy, I fall all over the place and hurt myself. If it makes me balanced, I look like the greatest balanced dude in the world. And yeah, all those things are great. If you're ever the greatest balanced dude in the world, you might gain like some kind of weird preference to that, and that's going to cause you to have to be the most unbalanced guy in the world in order to balance yourself back into a median, a neutral place, a centering, to where you're no longer identifying with a particular chord structure or form in some kind of a way, and so now you're versatile. You are the embodiment of the law of impermanence, the only universal only universal context that is, or concept which is popularly agreed upon. It'd be difficult picking up certain things if I get stopped in the flow to like observe something, because I said it's the only universal concept, the only universal concept, or the universal law that's commonly agreed upon. There we go. You see, so we just go back to where we were when we knew we were on the flow, and then we come back like, okay, jump through this, a little extra content here, a little extra content there, and then we get back to where we're meant to be. So it's commonly agreed upon, the law of impermanence. Of course, a lot of people understand the law of karma to be a law of karma, or to be a true law as well. But commonly, we can tell things change, and that they will change. You can say that they're not going to change, but eventually, even if it's 100 years later, they're going to change. Like the mountains, the rivers, the streams, they all change. Everything changes. We change, times change. Yesterday you're a happy guy, today you're a mad guy, or a fucked up woman, or a great woman, however it is, we've decided to form and identify ourselves. Anytime you do, though, you set that form up to the law of impermanence, and immediately it must change. And now you become a fighter of reality if you're trying to hold something in preference. So when I try to hold the most balanced guy in the world, now I'm holding a form, I'm holding an identity. Even if I have a very amazing, limitless expanse to the way in which I've decided to define this giant box, in which is my limitless expression, it's probably a box that then will be broken in a terrible manner, So it doesn't matter how it is I've described my identity. Anytime that I solidly identify with it and say, this is me, I've accepted it as myself, or whatever it is, now I've subjected it to the law of impermanence. And so people are having this constantly happening within them, to where I'm the good man, but now I'm the bad man. And then you become the good man again, and now you're the bad man again. Oh, the good man again, the bad man again. It's just this constant going back and forth, going back and striving to hold this image. But the law of impermanence is why you're having trouble. I'm sorry, it's a real law. It has no choice. You cannot keep the same shape. Just like the sand mandalas in Tibetan Buddhism, they make the most beautiful mandala, they wipe it away immediately upon completion, pretty much. Why would they do this? To teach themselves and each other how to mold themselves very easily with the Book of Change, if you want to call it, but not in Tibetan Buddhism. They don't believe in the I Ching in that way. They're not followers of that tradition. But I just like that, the Book of Change helps us deal with changes. And that's also what this helps them do. It helps them deal with the law of impermanence. That, oh yes, as soon as I have created the greatest geometrical pattern in the world in my great, amazing sense of realization, it's going to be wiped away from me, so I cannot attach and gain preference, thus forming myself into a limiting law of duality. Instead, it allows me to become versatile and lose my attachment to what my preference is, and lose my identity and my form, that I constantly am formed and shaped by all the moment around me. So if I do become the most balanced man, it's possible that I'd have to become the most unbalanced man before I could become actually what is balance. And that is something that is not any of these things, but is every single thing equally, thus never forming itself, allowing itself to be formed, as is always what's happening. So you just simply are like being yourself eventually, Well, when we gain preference, that's the huge issue with that. So right now, again, me and her were having a discussion about how to bring conversation in and bring understanding of who I am and what is going on here. The teachings that we're watching unfold through the present universe constantly, as I would like to bring people into the understanding of what is realization, what is liberation, what is occurring here with everything. We're experiencing this constantly, me and and Ray at this time. For a very long time we've been doing this, and not too long together, but everybody is experiencing rates of perfection to their own level of realization and experience at this time due to the context of experience that have brought them whatever terminologies, whatever lexicon, whatever words it is that they use and clearly define whatever it is they happen to be experiencing up until this point. It's all perfection, all the most amazing things, all the most phenomenal reflections of oneness. Eventually we'll be able to see this quite easily. We're bringing out these videos because they've been extremely beneficial. Ray and many other people that have been by have found themselves in great places of activation and empowerment that have really brought them quite easily and effortless into their most amazing centering of their personal selves, their experience, and what it means for them to really be authentically, bringing impeccability and ease to traveling. It's the first person I've had ride with me for such a long time, Miss Ray here. And we've just been experiencing so many amazing, phenomenal flows and perfections and synchronicities. I'm always experiencing these things. I don't ever have anybody think of them as too great. I mean, I myself think of them as the most amazing things ever, personally. I'm like, wow, this is phenomenal. Are you guys not awe-stricken by this? Is how I'm always thinking, But I'm always alone, It's very difficult to hang out with me. I've told you that before in a previous video, one or two of them. I probably say it like every time I talk to somebody, because it's like every time I talk to somebody that it happens. Pretty usually, except for Miss Ray here. And there have been other people that can hang out with me for longer periods. I believe it was like a few days was one of them out. It's amazing. A few days, we did good. Another friend, we traveled for maybe 4 days together, and this time I was able to be myself for the whole time, the whole duration. I was able to move light language and powerful energies through, open up energies for the land that we were passing. We were going through at a very high rate of speed through an amazing valley, and we got to boost a huge frequency through that valley, light frequency, mudra patterns, all these things. I wish to bring these things into the flow as well. And so we're going to be talking about all of these things. One of the main reasons why I wish to talk about them is because they're not as extraordinary as they may seem. But they are quite extraordinary in another way, because we are all quite extraordinary, but in a way of equanimity. There's not one thing greater than another thing, but they are all very uniquely amazing and very wonderful to see. This leaf or this blade of grass, this air next to me, whatever it is all very beautiful, amazing, phenomenal things, but all quite very ordinary. And so that's something that can be difficult for us to see. We haven't had an ascended master walk the earth for a very, very long time. We've had plenty of people that act as if they're ascended mastery, and they have plenty of people, oh yes, I've been alive for 3,000 years and I've been walking this earth. Oh yeah, well, we don't have any documentation of that. We don't have any way. Well, can you show me your birth certificate, buddy? I don't know. I mean, show me 3,000 years ago. Oh, you walked with the Buddha, did you? Okay, so you and the Buddha were on the earth at the same time. Was he your teacher? Oh, you didn't care for his teachings because you were a Hindu. But the Buddha was the Buddha. How did you not want to listen to the Buddha? It's crazy. Okay, whatever then. I don't care about it. So for me, a lot of people have all these different images and, instrumental style orchestrations of what they believe the perfect image of consciousness to be. And I guess that's why all the different traditions and religions of the world are existing right now. I'm quite happy with Buddhism in big amounts of ways, because it's been so egoless. It really does not make an extraordinary image of what is enlightened consciousness. It brings you into understanding what is the most mundane and ordinary, but most significant, of the highest significance way to be. And it's just like, wow, this is amazing, this phenomenal way that this being is. But you see, the only difference between the Buddha and any ordinary man was that the Buddha was honest. Very, very odd. You think, oh, what do you mean? Do you mean that every being in the world right now that is not at the realization of the Buddha is simply a liar? Not honest? Oh, it seems silly, right? It's like, oh, integrity. We talk about it all day. A lot of people, oh, integrity, the highest value. There's the key to all life. What will set you free? The truth will set you free. That's what they say. This is radiated probably throughout the entire globe. And how many of you are liars? I know. It's hard for me to say to somebody, like, you're a fucking liar. Like, it's okay, don't worry. I found out that about myself as well. It's very difficult to be very honest. It's very vulnerable. You may lose all of your friends. You may lose your family. You may lose the community that you're in if you are honest. Oh, hey, I can't tell this person I think that they're a piece of shit and that they look ugly in that dress. How could I tell them that? That'd be awful. It'd be terrible. Well, maybe, you do think that they're a piece of shit, but there's reasons. Maybe you say, like, all the reasons why you're thinking that. Well, hey, when I first saw you, I saw this and I saw that. You may find out that you just think they're a piece of shit because that beautiful dress you saw them wearing, or whatever it is a dress you want to wear. And you think it's wrong for you to wear that dress, and so now you see them wearing that dress, and you think, oh, they're a piece of shit. How dare they wear that dress that I want to wear, but I won't wear it because it would look tacky in front of all these people. It'd make me look judged, or whatever it happens to be. I don't want anybody to think that I like unicorns. What the hell? This person's wearing a unicorn dress. What a weirdo. What a freak. That's exactly what I would say to me if I was wearing that around. The judgments I would be afraid of. So, very interesting. Liars. But if we're honest with ourselves, we can come to great honesty with one another without causing too much disruption. I mean, even if what we're saying to them is saying that I think you're a piece of shit because of this, and that, that person can at least hear the fullness of what we're saying in such a way where they're like, oh, okay, you think because of those things. Oh, that's interesting. Well, I don't think those things are wrong personally. I don't know what's going on with you with that. That's kind of strange, But most people, you present to them your truth, they at least can have some form of respect that you're telling them in a way of honesty and a way to come to some form of harmony and communication. So it's a little safe there, We already spoke about honesty in the last video and about how, you might want to make sure you're not attacking and defending first, But if you don't, you may have a lot of weird reverberations, and that'll be okay too. Surely that'll move you to skillful action in some way, even if you die. I mean, you'll be reborn. No big deal, I guess. Anyhow. So, right now, we're trying to figure out what would be the best way to bring things into saying, into channeling. See, for me and Ray, we've already been through so many things. We've already spoken about the Dharma, we've spoken about this tradition, we've spoken about this story, we've spoken about this thing. And as I say that, it's like, it's not really like we're out of material. I mean, we have an endless amount of material provided to us day by day by day by day. Sure, if there was something I needed to say to somebody and I hadn't had an experience about what would be relevant to helping them with their journey, that I would have maybe an experience that morning in a very microcosmic way, but with a great amount of awareness, be able to see it, to be able to help the person, through this amazing route of honesty, really. Extraordinary is honesty in a very ordinary and mundane way. We could all be this way. We could all see how amazingly perfect we are constantly, easily, effortlessly, constantly, naturally occurring, As I was going into before a little bit, these people in the world, they believe the Buddha, they believe these ascended masters to be these amazing images, and they listen to these teachers in the world. And they're like, oh, this teacher looks a lot like what I believe purity would look like. This teacher's not cussing or swearing or doing anything. What is this guy? Where did he come from? Oh, he just wants to look like the most peaceful yogi in the world. This guy read books. This guy has scholarship. This guy is a smart man. He's a smart person. He's remembered the sutras. He's remembered the documentation. He's remembered things. So what? You can go up to the valedictorian of your college and say, hey, tell me this information. They read it verbatim from the page, but can he do anything with that information? So what? You're a good memory. What can you do with your memory? Can you make something new? Can you create anything new? And nobody's bad for that. Nobody's wrong or whatever. But it's like, these are not forms of intelligence that I take honor myself. I'm like, oh, whatever, So what? You're a scholar. So you have a lot of conceptual knowledge. So you have plenty of theories that you've heard about. Oh, you read a wisdom and you decided that you agree with the wisdom. But you probably don't agree with the wisdom because you never did follow it all the way through. You just decided that, hey, I'm a master psychologist maybe. And these people don't know anything. And I've learned some stuff. And because they don't know anything, I can see that they're constantly in trouble with their fear and their doubt and their insecurity, kind of like an older man hitting on a younger woman. These teachers are hitting on younger spiritual people. They're, oh, you don't know anything about spirituality. That's fine. I've read plenty of books. I'll make it look like I have the confidence necessary to present you the image of a teacher. Come, pay me all of your money, sit in front of me. I'll never actually help you, but I'll make you think that you're helped. I'll bring you to a place of spaciousness, Here you are in the present moment. Now have a beautiful day. You're completely done. Oh, why couldn't you hold on to the present moment? Oh, you couldn't hold on to it. What's that about? I never explained a single specificity or articulated in a way of accuracy any of the things about being in the present moment. So why weren't you able to stay there? Why couldn't you just solidly construct yourself in that place? Well, you see, for me, yeah, it would be cool to be able to stay in the present moment just willy-nilly without any information stabilizing me or holding me into centering. But it turns out that I've had a ridiculous amount of experience and realization. I've had insane amounts of experiences from consciousness showing me the same thing in so many different ways. It's ridiculous. The same thing over and 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 over, thousands of ways. Also, I could remain in the center because every time I was in the center, all of a sudden another thing come up and I was like, oh. And then it showed me something through that, and that allowed me to be here, you know? And so every time there's like weak little places all around that little center point, and it's just giving me all the experiences that, I go to that one. Oh, but don't worry, it's balanced by that one now. But it's balanced by experience. It's balanced by knowing. It's not balanced by some conceptualization of like, I'm balanced, and you just decide that, like, I'm balanced, and then they fall onto the fucking rocks, you know? And I'm like, okay, well, you're pretty balanced, not bad. And I'm not saying just because you fall on the rocks that there isn't balance. I mean, everything is constant balance. You cannot not be balanced. Even if you're falling, you're balanced somehow. But this is another idea, or not really idea. This is another truth. It's a very similar truth. We're talking about the same thing here. But when it comes to that form of balance, it's a non-duality that kind of makes it more difficult to talk about these distinguishings of ways that energy is presenting itself within the conscious collective at this time. And so I think it's good to be looking at these things from not just the point of them being perfection, but how they're perfection as they are. And so this person's definitely, falling all over the rocks. And so we can just describe that as, yes, they are falling on the rocks. Sure, they're doing it in a phenomenal balance. Sure, they're doing it in the perfection of everything, in the most amazing expression of limitless consciousness that's here for the benefit of all beings everywhere without one exception in every manner of its movement. But also, they may be falling on the rocks because they have some kind of idea that they need to try to balance when they actually are balanced. And so they don't need to try to balance, they are balanced. And so if they were to walk as balanced, they would not have to balance because they would simply be balanced. And it's not that they are not, it's just the ideas that cause a reverberation in the head, bouncing back and forth in all kinds of different amazing manners, intricate ways, phenomenal multiplicity of describing the uniqueness from each situation to each situation of how many energies are welcome to the party and how many energies are not welcome to the party, and how a focus over here causes an inability to focus here. We're going to go through all of these things. And that's the big deal, because I'm tired, hearing all these people, they're going to this practice, 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 and all of these practices were created by the heart. So I don't know if there's been any teacher that's actually mastered these practices for thousands of years even. I don't know. As I look at these people teaching people all these different things, I'm just, why didn't you teach them how to get there from the beginning point? Why did you take them to the very middle of a motion? I mean, I guess you could do that. They could do those middle motions for like the rest of their lives and never really understand anything from it. I've seen people that have been yogis for decades, 20 years, more, and they have no idea what's going on in consciousness. They don't even know how to move the energy. I don't understand. Like, you can't flow with energy. You've been doing this for 20 years. These 5 postures, or these 10 postures, however many postures you've decided to make your living off of, and say everybody that you're the most phenomenal yogi. I was like, what? I was like, well, that's not how you make it to a posture. So we're going to show you the beginning points of motion. We're going to show you how to make it to the points of the embodiments of these postures. From the very beginning though. You don't just start in the middle or at the end. Some of these postures, they started these postures as the end conclusion of postures, which I totally getting there, as the end. Okay, sure, yeah, maybe I can bring you all. Immediately, hold out your arms. Let's go. This is it. There's another way you got here, but let's just start right here instead. And this is the posture of no attack and no defense. So, okay, now you're here. Hold it until you feel as if forever you are no attack and no defense. And so that may take you like 500 years. I don't know how it's going to take, but just go ahead and hold that posture until finally you feel that it has integrated throughout the entire system of your soul, your spirit, your body, your mind, your body, your speech, until finally you're like, okay, yes, I understand no attack and no defense. I bet if any of you do that, you're not going to have that happen the very first time you do it. It'd be crazy to me if that happened. I mean, my process was quite long, some years, but I do imagine people could much quickly, much more quickly find out these things than I did, because there's now that information has been grounded in a giant way. So we're always accelerating, going faster than the time before. But I really would be quite suspicious to anybody who said that through this posture that they understood no attack and no defense. I would be quite suspicious. Not against the possibility, but quite suspicious. I would really be testing them big time. I'd be having a lot of questions for that person. Oh, really? No attack and no defense. Oh. And so I pretty much go into a straight attack with them immediately upon them telling me that there are no attack and no defense. Oh, yeah? Okay, let me attack you and see if you defend. Well, there we go. Oh, there's your defense. What happened? Oh, yeah, you didn't understand. You just conceptualized. You just agreed that because you held this posture that you understood something. Well, good. Awesome. That's great. Do you understand why the yoga of life exists? That you're moving energies for the entirety of the earth and the universe and everything through your body. That you don't just do it right here in this one spot forever. It's an interchanging atmosphere. We just talked about the law of impermanence and taking form and preference. If you stay here and think that everything is just holding one posture for the rest of your life, then it's fine, no problem. I mean, eventually the law of impermanence will find you. It's probably found you that entire time while you were sitting there. I'm holding this posture. And every time you thought I was holding this posture, that's when you were no longer holding the posture. And then you're holding the posture, and you thought about it. And then you have to keep on kicking yourself back to remind yourself what you're doing, or you're going to lose it. And that's the fight of impermanence meaning, when somebody takes structure or form. It's like, okay, here I am formed, and then the thoughts, and then you reform the thoughts, reform the thoughts, you reform, you're bringing your focus back again and again and again. Focus again, focus again, focus again. People do this with silence a lot, sitting there in silence.